몇몇 거대한 초강 대국들이 배후에서 세계를 조정한다고 믿는 사람들이 있습니다. 그 대상으로는 대표적으로 미국이 있죠. 그런데 만약 우리나라가 세계를 배후 조종하는 국가라고 한다면 어떨까요? 외국의 많은 사람들은 한국에 대해 겉으로 보기에는 크기가 작고 중요해 보이지 않았는데 순식간에 전 세계적인 규모의 거대한 영향력을 행사하는 국가가 되었다고 말하고 있습니다. 물리력과 같은 힘이 아닌 새로운 힘으로 배후에서 세상을 지배해가고 있다는 것이죠. 이러한 힘을 소프트 파워라고 칭하는데요. 현재 강대국들을 비롯한 많은 국가들이 이러한 형태의 힘을 개발하는 데 매달리고 있지만 우리나라가 가장 빠르게 성공적으로 이뤄낸 것입니다. 실제 스페인은 자국의 언어를 알리는 방식으로 세계적인 영향력을 얻기 위해 전 세계에 세르반테스 연구소를 세우고 매년 1억 7천만 유로를 연구소에 지출하고 있는데요. 하지만 많은 자본을 투입했음에도 그 효과는 한국에 비교하기조차 민망합니다. 한국은 1997년과 2019년 사이에 토픽 지원자가 거의 14,000%나 증가했으며 2019년에는 약 40만 명이 한국어 시험에 지원했는데 이는 스페인어 공식 시험인 델레에 등록한 지원자보다 거의 4배는 많은 수준입니다. 데이터를 보면 기업과 경쟁력 있는 콘텐츠에 대한 한국의 노력이 훨씬 더 성공적이었죠. 한국어는 세계적으로 8천만 명 정도의 원어민밖에 없는 소수 언어에 해당한다는 점을 생각하면 이러한 수치들은 정말 엄청난 것인데요. 이처럼 현재 세계는 물리적인 힘 외에도 다른 새로운 힘을 가지기 위해 경쟁을 하고 있고 우리나라는 경쟁에서 압도적인 선두에 있습니다. 하지만 새로운 힘이 무엇인지 또 우리나라가 가진 파워를 실감하기는 힘든데요. 한국이 가진 새로운 힘이 얼마나 강력한지 잘 설명하는 스탠포드 대학 강의가 있어 가져왔습니다. 교수는 한국이라는 나라를 전혀 모르던 자신이 한국에 직접 방문하게 되고 알 수 없는 힘에 끌리게 된 것을 설명하며 강의를 이어갔는데요.
And I've titled my talk, Korea Gone Global, K-pop and Technologies of Soft Power. I knew nothing about Korea, really. Like I said, I'd grown up in New York and then in Jerusalem since the age of 3, and so really didn't know very much. I didn't know that Taekwondo was even Korean, but when I started practicing Taekwondo, I started learning how to count, I learned the names of the kicks, and so Korea sort of entered my imagination as this place where Taekwondo was developed. And after I finished high school, I attended I did my military service in Israel. And I decided before I went to college that I wanted to go and do Taekwondo in Korea. But I arrived one wintry day in 1993 in December, and what I remember was just how bright the lights were at night. And I also remember all the many neon crosses that I passed along the way driving through downtown Seoul. So it was really kind of my first encounter with Korea was one that I didn't expect at all. This next slide is a slide of myself and my other Taekwondo practitioners from my dojang. Soft power is a really, really powerful one. It is a way for nations like Korea to draw in interest from people from all over the world that can turn into a lifelong dedication, lifelong devotion, and interest and investment in learning things about Korea. So when we talk about soft power today, of course, we talk about K-pop and how everyone now knows what Korea is. And you go to BTS concerts and they're speaking in Korean, and people are learning Korean using different websites like Talk to Me in Korean. I like to start by challenging students to think about what Korean popular culture includes. And usually people will say, it's girl and boy bands like BTS. But there are other forms of popular culture that we are immersed in these days from Korea. One of them is, as I said, sports, Taekwondo, but also many of today's golfers are Korean. I mean, golf isn't Korean per se, but it's, there are so many great Korean golfers today in the world of sports, short track skaters as well. Korea really dominates also archery, so it's really interesting to think about Korean sports, both Korean food is a very popular form of culture. Cosmetics and Korean dramas, of course, are widely available. So Korean popular culture is really a broad category that encompasses a lot of cultural forms, not just K-pop, not just singers and entertainers. The next term I want to discuss is the term soft power. A scholar named Joseph Nye, who published an article in 1990 in Foreign Policy. He writes, quote, "Power is changing in world politics." In other words, power is that which makes it possible for you to make other countries do what you want. Rather than using brute force, military force, today, he observes, there are new forms of power that can be leveraged that are included in technology and communications. So Joseph Nye is anticipating that traditional forms of power, military, economic power, are being supplanted, replaced by new forms of power that are not military, they're not force. Joseph Nye writes, quote, "A country that stands astride popular channels of communication has more opportunities to get its messages across and to affect the preferences of others." As I said, it is soft power is no longer using force, military and economic means of making other countries change their minds, but using culture and using technology and communication to do that in a much more effective way. I think, again, if we think about Korean culture and the reason that students like you are listening to this lecture, it's because South Korea has done something really remarkable over the last 20 years. It has managed to produce, it's a small country by comparison, but it's managed to produce some of the most compelling, high quality culture, popular culture in the world. So one of the really tremendous achievements of South Korea over the last 20 years is that it has become the major producer of youth culture in the world. If you think about, Korea is not, it's has one of the biggest economies in the world. Well, now that we know, can anyone do that? Can anyone establish that in the same way that South Korea has? And do you think they would be successful? So in a way, we're always asked, what happened to J-pop? Why is J-pop, how did J-pop, Japanese pop culture, not ride this wave that Korea is riding?
교수의 말처럼 최근 우리나라의 영향력은 상당한 수준인데요. 인도 뉴스에서는 이러한 한국의 영향력에 대해 다룬 적이 있습니다.
How Korean culture is increasingly making its presence felt around the world. The list of South Korean exports is long already. K-pop, K-dramas, beauty products, their food, their fashion. The Korean language might be the next big thing. Laos, Thailand, Myanmar have adopted Korean as a foreign language in their schools' curricula. Last year, Vietnam started teaching Korean at its elementary schools as a first foreign language. In India as well, the Korean language is making its presence felt. Courses in the Korean language became increasingly popular in India. The Korean language course saw an increase of 175% in 2022 as compared to the registrations in 2021. Did you know that the Korean language is one of the fastest growing languages in the world? Korean was the 7th most studied language on the application. Interestingly, Korean has outperformed Chinese, which has found itself on the 8th spot on Duolingo over the last few years. This boom in popularity of Korean culture has happened over the last several years now. A surge in interest toward the language in the same period. The number of King Sejong institutes, that the government-run Korean language learning institutes, increased since the year 2007, when the organization started out, setting up 13 institutes in 3 countries. As of 2021, there were 234 institutes in 82 countries. The interest in Korean pop culture has exploded over the last few years, and a direct result of this interest, the interest in learning the language, has shot up. Or even to work with Korean companies in Asia. Students are eager to learn the language because that also helps them enjoy the culture, to be able to engage with their favorite singers or actors, perhaps. According to Netflix, over 60% of all Netflix members watched Korean titles last year. 3 of Netflix's most watched shows are from Korea. According to a survey conducted by Duolingo, 56% of the respondents said that they were influenced by pop culture to learn a new language. For Indians, improving career opportunities and personal growth were the main drivers to learn a new language. Korean language established itself as the 5th most popular language being learned in the country. But you see, this is just one part of the story. This is an opportunity for South Korea to use its soft power to engage with people, to reach out to people across industries, to increase its influence.
영상이 마음에 드셨다면 구독과 좋아요, 알림 설정 부탁드립니다. 끝까지 시청해주셔서 감사합니다.